Hi guys, welcome back. So this is week 3 of the read-along of Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen, hosted by Steve Donahue. We read another 15 chapters, and we now have 15 chapters remaining left for the last week of the read-along. Within this particular week, we encounter Elizabeth still at Hunsford visiting her friend Charlotte, recently Mrs. Collins and Mr. Collins, and also she's been visiting with Lady Catherine de Bourgh, which is Darcy's aunt. She's also the patron of Mr. Collins. And while visiting there, she has encountered Mr. Darcy on several occasions, much to her consternation. I love chapter 10 here. I forgot what part of the book it is here, because they restart the chapters. More than once did Elizabeth, in her ramble within the park, unexpectedly meet Mr. Darcy. She felt all the perverseness of the mischance that should bring him where no one else was brought, and to prevent its ever happening again, took care to inform him at first that it was a favorable haunt of hers. How it could occur a second time, therefore, was very odd, yet it did, and even a third. It seemed like willful ill-nature or a voluntary penance, for on these occasions it was not merely a few formal inquiries and an awkward pause and then away, but he actually thought it necessary to turn back and walk with her. I got a chuckle out of that part. So while she's visiting there, she also has several meetings with Colonel Fitzwilliam, who she's kind of been slowly becoming a little attracted to. He is the cousin of Mr. Darcy and also the co-guardian of Darcy's sister, Georgiana. And through a conversation, she happens to learn a bit more about Darcy's nature and apparently what a true friend he is and how he happened to intervene between a friend of his and a young woman in their relationship. And she immediately suspects that he's referring to Bingley and her sister Jane. Although he doesn't come out and say Bingley, he says he does think it's probably him because they had spent the summer together. She's absolutely furious. She knows how sad her sister has been since Bingley has kind of gone off to London and not written to her, not communicated with her, and seeming to have broken off any kind of relationship with her sister. And all the letters she's received from her sister and how sad she's been. She's going over these letters and just getting more and more furious about what Darcy has done. And then Darcy comes in and happens to be rather agitated about something, and all of a sudden he just bursts out with this, "In vain have I struggled. It will not do. My feelings will not be repressed. You must allow me to tell you how ardently I admire and love you." This is just out of the blue, such a shock. She's astonished beyond expression, it says. He goes on to kind of, in a very awkward way, propose, saying how he has fought against everything about possible objections from his family because of sort of, you might say, marrying beneath his class. He's gone against all these possible objections, and he can't deny how much he loves her. And she refuses him, and he's shocked. She goes on to explain why, about how he has intervened with her sister's happiness. She says, "Can you deny this?" And he says, "I have no wish of denying that I did everything in my power to separate my friend from your sister, or that I rejoice in my success." This just, of course, infuriates her. And then she goes on and she says, "It's not merely this affair," she said, "on which my dislike is founded. Long before it had taken place, my opinion of you was decided." A bit prejudiced. "Your character was unfolded in the recital which I received many months ago from Mr. Wickham. On this subject, what can you say?" And he doesn't go into detail, but he can see that she's siding with him, and she what's this one part? She says, "From the very beginning, from the first moment, I may almost say, of my acquaintance with you, your manners impressing me with the fullest belief of your arrogance, your conceit, and your selfish disdain of the feelings of others, were such as to form that groundwork of disapprobation on which succeeding events have built so immovable a dislike, and I had not known you a month before I felt that you were the last man in the world whom I could ever be prevailed upon to marry." And it made me think about an earlier part in the book where she was dancing with him or something, I think, at the moment, and asked him, she says, "I remember hearing you once say, Mr. Darcy, that you hardly ever forgave, that your resentment, once created, was unappeasable. You were very cautious, I suppose, as to its being created." He says, "I am." She said, "And you never allow yourself to be blinded by prejudice." "I hope not." And her response is particularly incumbent on those who never change their opinion to be secure of judging properly at first. So here she has been prejudiced towards him. She has, from the very beginning, from her first acquaintance, formed an opinion of him. And now it seems like she has no intent of ever changing her mind. So she's kind of guilty of what she's accused him possibly of being. Shortly after that, he writes a letter to her, kind of explaining in detail his response to those two accusations as to why he intervened with the relationship between Bingley and her sister. He felt that she didn't truly love his friend. And upon reflection, she realizes that Jane never really was very open about her feelings towards Bingley, at least not towards him. She expressed them towards Lizzie, saying how much she, felt attracted to him and perhaps thought of, a future with him, but she never expressed that outwardly. So obviously Darcy didn't see that and probably was trying to protect his friend from a broken heart. He also goes on to detail about Wickham and how Wickham has been spreading these horrible rumors about him as to his true nature. Wickham, upon Darcy Sr.'s death, decided he didn't want to go into the church and asked for money to help pursue a law career, and Darcy helped him. But then he was just idle, didn't do anything towards that career, and eventually when the money ran out, came back to Darcy for more and also hoped that he would now get him into the church because he figured that would be kind of a sustainable future for him where he could get, income from and have to do very little. Darcy refused. Wickham also tried to make some advances toward Darcy's sister, but with the help of Colonel Fitzwilliam, they deterred that relationship and broke it off. So Wickham has been, basically whenever Darcy hasn't been around, spreading bad rumors about him. So now she comes to realize how horrible she's been, having this initial opinion of Darcy, and she reads his letter over and over again and just feels absolutely horrid. She says here, "How despicable have I acted? I who have prided myself on my discernment, I who have valued myself on my abilities, who have often disdained the generous candor of my sister and gratified my vanity in useless or blamable distrust. How humiliating is this discovery, yet how just a humiliation. Had I been in love, I could not have been more wretchedly blind, but vanity, not love, has been my folly. Pleased with the preference of one and offended by the neglect of the other, on the very beginning of our acquaintance, I have accorded prepossession and ignorance, and driven reason away where either were concerned. Till this moment, I never knew myself." So this is a bit of an eye-opening moment for her. She's absolutely mortified. Her visit has pretty much come to an end, and she returns home. We find, again, she's encounters her sister Lizzie, her sister Jane. She, without going into detail about Georgiana's part in the whole situation with Wickham, she tells her about Wickham's true nature and how she was lucky to escape him, and also the other woman he was pursuing, Mary Kelly. So they kind of had a good break with that. She, in a weird kind of encounter, you can see the true nature of Mrs. Bennet, the mother. She mentions, what is your opinion now on this sad business of Jane's? She says, it's just as he chooses, Mrs. Bennet says. Nobody wants him to come, meaning Bingley. She says, though I shall always say that he used my daughter extremely ill, and if I was her, I would not have put up with it. Well, my comfort is, I am sure Jane will die of a broken heart, and then he will be sorry for what he has done. So she's feels comforted by the fact that Bingley will be, upset about that, but her, because her daughter will die of a broken heart. Anyway, so the situation kind of goes along where Lizzie ends up being invited by, I believe it's her aunt and uncle, to kind of go on a little bit of a vacation, possibly up to the Lake District, and also to visit Pemberley. I guess the Lake District falls through. They can't, because of time delays and work her uncle has to do. They get off to a late start, and they definitely want to go up to Pemberley. Lizzie's very hesitant about that because that is the home of Mr. Darcy. She makes several inquiries before agreeing to the trip to find out that they are sort of away for the summer. They are not at home, so they can visit the stately home and take a tour and everything. And she can spend some time with her aunt and uncle, so she agrees to go. Only to be quite surprised at the sudden arrival near the end of the trip of Darcy. He, graciously approaches them and greets them and welcomes them into the home. She learns from, through encounters with various members of the staff of the household, of basically quite a wonderful man Mr. Darcy is. Again, changing her total opinion of what she had thought of him, of her initial, opinion of his pride and everything like that. But he's very, very generous. He's very kind towards his sister. She starts to reflect that he has always spoken very kindly of her. He's very pleasant with her aunt and uncle and showing them around and talking about fishing with her uncle and everything. And he's very anxious for Lizzie to even get a chance to meet her sister, or his sister rather, Georgiana. And it's sort of a strange feeling for her. Again, changing her once very set in stone opinion of him. But I really enjoyed these chapters, sort of eye-opening kind of feelings on both of the points of the characters. Perhaps maybe Darcy understanding how Lizzie has felt towards him because her judgment was colored by other people speaking ill of him. I really, really enjoy these chapters. I can't wait to see kind of where it goes from there. I mean, it's pretty obvious what's going to happen. It's a romantic story. There's going to be, some marriages down the road, hopefully more than one. And I'm looking forward to the last 15 chapters here. I really just kind of want to just dive in and finish it off right away. So, if you guys are following along, let me know what you've thought of these so far, and I will see you guys next week. Bye-bye. Someone's waiting to go for a walk. Are you waiting to go for a walk? Yeah? What do you think? Walk time? That's a yes.